Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on where you are. So I think we've got quite the international audience today. So I appreciate every one of you that are sort of up early or up late in order to attend the webinar today. And so we're going to just go ahead and get started. And one of the things that we are kicking off now is the 2022 webinar series with the International Models of Emergency Management. This is sponsored by Capacity Building International and TIEMS, the International Emergency Management Society. And this is really something that we built upon from last year when we did our first round of webinars. And my name is Kyle King. I'm the Managing Director of Capacity Building International. And we have Harold Drager with us today, who's leading the TIEMS portion of the panel today and discussion. And he's the president of TIEMS. And of course, we're joined by a number of others as well from TIEMS who will go ahead and explain a lot of things about the TIEMS process and certifications and things like that. And really, I want to do a real quick recap in terms of what we did last year, because this is an extension of the success that we built upon and built in 2021. And that's where we had a number of webinars, actually 23 webinars throughout 2021, where we had 1,837 attendees from 74 countries, and 12 national models were presented, and 7 partner organizations as well, such as those from the Pacific Disaster Center, from the NATO Center of Excellence for Crisis Management and Disaster Response, to the University of Manchester and the Resilient program that they were managing there. So we had just a number of partners that were represented as well throughout the 2021 webinar series. And as always, we want to kick off with just a few quick points, such as where are you joining us from? So just go ahead and let us know in the chat where you're joining us from, so we can get a good idea of where everybody is and your time zone, especially. And then also let us know in the Q&A section, if you do have any questions, you can use the Q&A section to write out your answers. That will go to the panelists, and then we can address those towards the end of the presentation or after the speakers are done, and we'll address those individually. So just make sure you use the Q&A, because we also are able to print out the reports, and then we can also draft an answer for you later on after the webinar itself. Now, 2022 program, we're doing things a little bit differently this year. So we are still continuing with our monthly series on the webinars. That's going to be focused on international models itself. So we're going to continue to look at different national systems in emergency and disaster management. We are also launching a bi-weekly podcast called Crisis, Conflict, and Emergency Management, also in collaboration between TIEMS and CBI. And we have a 22 annual conference coming up for TIEMS as well. More information to follow with that as we get into the year, but just to let you know that it is there. And maybe Harold can give some tentative time frame when we turn over to him, so at least you can get that on your calendar, because that'll be a great event to attend. And of course, there's a new TIEMS community as well. So if you're interested in any of those things, go ahead and head over to tiems.info, TIEMS.info, and go ahead and sign up and join TIEMS itself. And upcoming events. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a multi-series going through 2022. And so far we have the kickoff in January with TIEMS and TQC. And then we are going to go into February looking at Spain, and then March in Italy so far. If you know, or if you are from a national system or organization, or if you know somebody who is, and they would like to present their own national model in this webinar series, please get in contact with us. You can simply send me a message here in chat now, or you can follow up later on and reach out to either Harold or myself, and we'll get that arranged accordingly. And so now, Harold, I'll turn it over to you, and floor is yours.
Thank you, Kyle. Today, I will give you an update on TIEMS. I will present a little bit about our activities and the ideas we have. And in addition, we will focus on TIEMS International Certifications, TQC and TQAC, where I have invited 4 charter members to tell about their experience with being certified, and also what they think about the international certification and any ideas they will like to add on to this. But going first through a little bit about TIEMS, give you an update. The first thing, we had our annual conference, the 28th one. Also this year, we had to do it virtually, and it was supposed to be in Paris. But I have good news for you, saying that we have now already, as you see the picture here, we have put all the videos by sessions on TIEMS website. So if you go to TIEMS website, you click on the report from annual conference 21, and you can click on the links and you can see the session and with the presentations. We are also working on the proceedings, but still we haven't received all presentations, so that will be added, and then you can look at all the presentation. But the presentation are also seen together with the videos. We, during the conference, which lasted a week with about 55 speakers, full program, there were 786 viewers at the conference from 47 countries. And I think that was quite good. What are the plans further? Well, we will be in USA this year, 22. We are still struggling a little bit with finding the place, and but the dates will be from late August to early October. Hasn't decided. It will be decided by the end of January, and then we'll let you know. We have also decided to be in South Africa in 23, and we will be in India in 24, and Costa Rica in 25. So we have a long-term planning with the annual conference. Furthermore, these are the chapters we have. As you can see here, Australia is red because we are still not registered a chapter in Australia, but we have a working group which we work together with to form a chapter when the time is ready. So if any of you that listen to the webinar today think, oh, I would like to be involved in a chapter in my country, my region, please let us know, and then we can start a dialogue on what will be required, and we will help you to create a chapter, because this creates a very useful network around the world. I'd like to mention that we always have the annual general meeting during TIEMS annual conference. So we then report what we have done the last year. We go into economy, and we also elect directors. So I like to mention, you know who has been there, but I'm very proud to tell that Kyle, we are running the webinar together with Kyle King. He is our new treasurer, and Vinod Menon, who will be also presenting his view on TQ certification. He is our new director, regional director for Asia. And finally, we have been struggling to find someone representing Latin America and Caribbean, but we have Alonso Brenes Torres, who is in Costa Rica, and we have already agreed that in 25 we'll go to Costa Rica. I don't want to mention the other ones because they have been on for some time, and you probably know those from before. But in addition to the board of directors, we have what we appoint officers. The board of directors, they are elected for 3 years, and they can be re-elected. Officers, if we have something we like to do, some work, we appoint an officer with that responsibility. And these are the officers here working with the different things. We have paper review, we have newsletter, we have the international network, and we also have the host for the upcoming conference. He joined us in preparation for the annual conference in 22, George Matkowski. And if you feel, okay, you're not doing that, or a special thing I really like to appoint, we had a person that was responsible for our social networks, but we don't have any at this time. So if some of you are very good on social networks, think, oh, I like to be helping teams with that, you are very welcome to suggest that. And just knowing that all work by officers and the directors is free of charge. We are volunteers, all of us, in this work for TIEMS. And all that are engaged in TIEMS chapter boards, who are directors or officers, they form what we call TIEMS International Group of Experts, which at the moment, I think this is not updated, so it's more than 104 members from 22 countries. But I haven't had time to update it with all the new things that happen. In this case, it's a unique group, different field of expertise, different background, and is a unique group of reference for any project or representative work international. And we have members, of course. We have standard members, and we have professional certified members. Those are those that have been certified by TQC or TQAC. We have student members. We have institutional members. An institutional member means a company, an institution, and then that comprise 5 memberships. We have also local chapter members, which are then belonging to a chapter, and we have honorary member. And altogether, all these different type of membership includes about 3,000 membership worldwide. So why should we become a member of TIEMS? Well, there are some benefits, and I have listed something here. And one thing which I think is unique is that TIEMS, we participate in the research project. In the project we got so far is funded by the European Union, but we are also involved in other projects, so we might get also other research project from other places than funded by the European Union. But members of TIEMS, if they are qualified, can be then involved in TIEMS paid research activities. And I will come back a little bit later and describe projects we are doing for the time being. And when you are a member, you learn, you serve, you network, and is part of a professional international network. We went the wrong way. So think about becoming a TIEMS member. What we focus on, because we are so international as we are, we focus on the cultural differences to be understood and included in TIEMS events, education and research programs with our 4 main activities, which are the international conference and workshop, which I mentioned, these webinars we are doing together with Capacity Building International and Kyle King, research project I will come back to, and international certification, TQC and TQAC. These are our 4 activities. And when I say we try include the cultural differences, is because when we look at this in a world perspective, we know that it might be done differently in different parts of the world, and we can learn much from each other. This is not a one-way street. We learn, and we also give and teach others what we know of emergency management. Kyle mentioned this in the opening. I just repeat that we do the webinars together, and we have a series in 22. This is the first one this year, and it was an amazing high number of attendees last year, as also mentioned by Kyle, close to 2,000, and from 74 countries. So this reached out quite good worldwide. And I also mentioned that last year we also cooperated. I think we had 3 webinars in cooperation with Manchester University, and also the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure was the last one. So if you are an institution, do webinars yourself, please contact us, and we can also do similar things, which we did together with Manchester University last year. Coming back to the research project, here is the list of the 9 projects we have been involved in from 2006 up to today. NARTUS was actually the start, And the result of the NARTUS project was Public Safety Communication Europe, which is a running organization concentrating on public safety communication. ASSET was about pandemics, and whatever we did there was very useful in the pandemic we are doing at the moment. We learned a lot, and we used that knowledge actually during this pandemic. Heracles was about cultural heritage. How could we protect cultural heritage from climate change? And we also participated in the wildfire. We were a subcontractor to DG ECHO, looking at a hub for wildfire expertise. We did help out with a World Bank study on civil protection worldwide. And we have developed our own certification, which will be shown now after this. Impetus, which is running at the moment, is about smart cities and different technology to make smart cities safe. I have yellowed the two last ones. These are totally new projects started up last year, one in 1st of November, the other one 1st of December. It's FireLog and FireRes. And I will briefly describe them after we have gone through TIEMS International Certification. The background for this certification is that with an increasing number of disasters worldwide, resulting in more international collaboration and support to disaster-stricken areas, the need for more education and training in emergency and disaster management seems evident. TIEMS believes that it is important to raise the awareness of the competencies needed in emergency and disaster management, and to support those participating in these activities and operation in acquiring those competencies, looking at this in a worldwide perspective. The history of this was actually during our annual conference in 2006, this idea emerged. And since then, around 300 experts from more than 40 countries have participating in developing the systems. And we started with our annual conference in Kyiv in 2017 to discuss this in a working group during the annual conference. We continued in Manila and Seoul, and then we launched the system in 2020. But in order to be knowing that what we were developing was needed in the market, but also it was tuned to the market's needs and was a valid system, we invited 8 what we call test candidates to test the system from A to C, and giving us an aspect and the relevance of the certification. 4 of them will tell about their experience after I'm finished with this. And our first idea was what we call TIEMS quality certification. But when we launched it in 20 and then later 21, we got questions from people that didn't have experience in the field, but had proper education. So we find out in order to meet these needs, we also established what we call TQAC. And this is an additional TIEMS certification for those with proper education in emergency. And in 20, we had the 8 test candidates. In last year, 7 new candidates started their certification, 4 for TQC and 3 for TQAC. And we have about 15 new candidates who have announced they will start their application process soon. So this is going very well, and look into it for those of you listening in to see if this could be something you like to do. And what are the difference between these different certification? TQC is a certification for individual emergency manager with a nationally recognized professional certification, or other individuals with documented competence and experience, practical or academic, in international emergency and disaster management. TQAC is a certification for individuals with proper education in emergency management, but who are lacking the practical experience as required for TQC. Both of them only certify knowledge and competences about international standards, requirements, and best practices necessary to create an international common understanding among those working with emergency and disaster management internationally. And the certification process, everything goes online, internet, and goes from application through a compliance phase, examination, and then certification awarded. And we think that TQC and TQAC can act as a facilitator element in the cooperation efforts between countries and organizations, using a common language and a common knowledge and understanding of international emergency management and disaster response. Then I will stop there. I have some slides which I will show you on our two projects after. 4 of our TQC charter members will tell about their experience with TQC certification and the importance of an international certification in emergency management and disaster response. We will give, they will come in this order: Vinod Menon from India, Larry Porter from USA, Russell Dippy from Australia, and Nail Momani from Dubai and Jordan. So we cover most of the world. So we have picked these 4. And please, I give now the floor to Vinod Menon, and I stop sharing.
Thank you, Harold. It's a great pleasure and a privilege for me to basically share some thoughts on the TQC and TQAC certification by TIEMS. The TIEMS, as the International Emergency Management Society, was established in 1993. And in the last 28, 29 years, almost 3 decades, TIEMS has been working in through their annual conferences and also through the various activities, through webinars and through the research and training and development projects. There have been activities which were being conducted, and these webinars and annual conferences, a lot of presentations have been there. And this need of an international emergency management certification was actually expressed, as Harold mentioned, in 2006. In the last few years, there's a lot of effort went in through consultations, through a lot of discussions with professionals in emergency management. And most of the TIEMS members, the 3,000 odd members whom Harold mentioned, across several countries, have been working as first responders in fire and emergency management, or in local administration, in national government, provincial government, and in various other agencies, responding to disasters and also supporting capacity building through international NGOs, national NGOs, and other organizations, which are basically including corporate sector. So the need of an international certification was felt, and the other opportunity was with the IAEM, which is the International Association for Emergency Managers, which Dr. Larry Porter, who's here, and Mr. Russell Dippy, they're both certified emergency managers, CEMs from IAEM, and they also have other professional certifications, which they will explain when they are making their presentation. So I felt that there is a need for professionals international emergency management certification. And when this opportunity was presented by TIEMS, I wanted to be one of the candidates taking it. And at the national level in the government of India, I had actually worked at the apex level as a first responder, as a policy maker, as a decision maker. And I felt that there is a need for more and more people to be involved in certification. And that is where this comes in, including a way of looking at a global certification, an international certification. So TQC is an international emergency management certification by TIEMS, and TQAC is for associates certification for people who are interested in entering the field of emergency management. So I think this is actually a very interesting opportunity for us to sharpen our skills. And there is also the opportunity for faculty improvement programs for people working in universities and in research institutions in the field of disaster management and emergency management. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary programs, I feel that this international certification will be very helpful. I benefited a lot by participating in the certification process, and I feel that this proctoring, going through an examination when you are actually also observed, there is a code of ethics which is to be followed. There's a competency areas which have to be shared, and the application process is very rigorous. Participating in the examination is also a very rigorous process, but I'm sure that people will benefit from that. So I want to basically compliment TIEMS for launching this TQC and TQSC, and wish and hope that there will be more people who will join and get certified going through the process of certification. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinod. I would like to say basically three things. I've enjoyed working with TIEMS, the TQC process, and my focus has been on the international aspect of emergency management. Now, a lot of the education programs within countries are focused or centric on their own country. And TIEMS TQC is focusing on the international aspect. There are workers at the United Nations. There are workers for the State Departments that deal with other countries. There's education for disaster programs internationally, disaster relief. And my focus has been on making TIEMS and TQC international, not country specific. It's not enough to know how to do emergency management in your country if you're going to be interested in or deploy or work on another country's problem. You've got to understand where they are, where they're coming from, and where they're going and their goals. Part of that is what I've been doing for the United States predominantly, and that is the Council for the Accreditation of Emergency Management and Homeland Security Education. We are an accrediting body that assesses institutions teaching emergency management and also teaching Homeland Security. And I would like to work in the future on focusing on the education programs within other countries, and perhaps TIEMS could get into that with assessing programs and giving them a stamp of approval or an accreditation for their programs for the international education that they are advocating. And then the last thing I'd like to mention is value of membership. We're paying, I'll say, well, some amount of money, some of us more, some of us less, especially the certified people. And when I join an organization, I find that the value I get of an organization is how involved I am in that organization. And so I've gotten great value from paying for my TIEMS membership by being part of the TQC and the examination board, the document editing, and other things that I spend time on, and that time is value for my membership. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak from Adelaide, South Australia. So here it's 3 o'clock in the morning at the moment. In some regards, I'm probably going to build on a little bit of what Larry has said, in that the process and the value gained from the certification I find to be supportive of my aim to actually increase professionalism within the emergency management sector. We already know that doctors and nurses and architects and lawyers are considered as professionals around the world. And I'd like to see emergency managers get to that same sort of status. So certification programs such as this one and others are actually of benefit in it. Australia has a very limited number of emergency managers. We have lots of first responders, we have lots of emergency services, but not true emergency managers as such. So to that end, I'll throw a link up. I've actually, as part of my own studies, actually published a journal article in the Australian Journal of Emergency Management comparing systems and what's required for a certification program. And the TQC program meets all those requirements from an academic point of view. It's an open source journal, so you can all get to it. And I would strongly recommend that we see more members gaining that, but noting, as Larry pointed out, the international aspect of this. Australia, for example, and I'm sure the same as in a lot of your countries, we don't copy bits from all other countries. We copy the best bits. And TQC is actually helping us to identify other aspects that we could actually learn from internationally as we move forward. The process, there's a lot of process. There is a lot of process. But by the same token, that process actually allows you to show the rigor that is required in a certification. So at the end of the day, it's not just a colored piece of paper that you get. It is something that you can actually hold up knowing that what you have got was worth the effort. It's something that will be recognized. So as I said, working hard within Australia to get that process recognised as part of getting certification of emergency managers raised to the forefront as we all aim to become professionals in our role. I'll leave it with there, and I think I'm jumping over to Niall going forwards.
Thanks, Harold, for inviting me to attend this webinar. I think Larry and Menon and Russell already covered the benefits of TQC. And I remember whenever I deliver training courses or teach a course in emergency management, my students, they ask for professional certifications such as the PMP or the CBCR or the DRI certificates. And I always mention there's no professional certificate in emergency management domain, only accreditation by academic accreditation through getting your degree from universities such as like George Washington or Charles Stewart or other university. And when the idea came up to have such certificate from TIEMS, and I was happy also to have Larry, my classmate, and the same advisor. I still remember when we both of us get admitted to the doctoral program was very competitive at that time, like 20 more than years. Now with such certificates, and even I had a discussion with Harold to introduce it even in different languages, because sometimes, like for example, I'm here in Dubai, you will have some professionals with 20 years, 30 years experience, and they have a degree from, for example, Dubai Police Academy, but maybe they can't do the exam in English. They need to have it maybe in Arabic. So I think having also the certificate in other languages, it will expand the benefits from such certificates, introducing, as Larry mentioned, to have common language, like when we discuss accreditation for programs, the same thing for professionals. Unfortunately, whenever we have a disaster, like for example now Corona, we'll start having a lot of expertise, a lot of professionals, or change their entire background to be in disaster management or crisis management as an expert. They market themselves as an expert, even in doing consultation, without having the proper education, proper knowledge, proper experience. Because as I explained before, you could be like academically qualified or professionally qualified or both of them. Because I always remember or recall the course which I used to take, like Larry, with Captain Mike Egan, NG from, if you recall, Larry, our courses we used just to discuss something not out of books, out of practical experiences, such what happened in Pentagon, in Haiti. So that's why having such certificate, professional certificates from TIEMS with more than, I remember I joined TIEMS in '99 through Jack Harold, and like for more than 20 years, every year there's a conference, webinars, activities. With having such certificate, I think it will give another dimension to TIEMS to be really international emergency management society. And I think also with accreditation initiatives from Larry, I remember when I was in Rabdan, they want to get accreditation for the crisis management program. I told them, who will come to give us accreditation, without having, proper organization to be certified for such domain. It's not like AACSP for business or ABIT for engineering. That's why if we get such certification, such organization, or even a group of expertise in this domain, we will expand. We will advocate for introducing professional, such as Russell mentioned, like to have engineers, they are professional, nurses, professional. Why not to have professionals in emergency management domain through both education and experience? Because unfortunately, sometimes even the experience might not be the right experience. That's why we need to augment the experience with knowledge from different countries to make sure this experience based on proper knowledge, scientific discipline, which is, sometimes through research, sometimes through different experiences, documented to be the right experience, proper experience that will be used in future emergencies. I think, Harold, that's it for from my side. Thanks for inviting me to talk.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you all. Actually, these are 4 of the charter members of TQC. We have 4 more, but we limited to those 4, but we will come back every year with new ones to give you experience of what they experience when they take certification. So I can mention we have 4 more charter members, 1 more from Australia, Desiree B. Carey. We have 1 from Nigeria, Gebenga Morenchi, a little bit difficult name for me. And we have 1 girl from South Africa, and we have 1 from China. So we have covered most of the world with those certified. And now we are coming in with new ones, as I mentioned. What I will do now, I will continue and tell you a little bit more about, well, before I do that, I can mention that if you are interested in this certification, you can contact me, or I'm sure that Russell, Larry, Neil, and Vinod can also give you advices on this. So, and you will find the application form, you will find on TIEMS website. And when you go through the application, you will be evaluated and then let into the platform, and everything can be done from where you are. We also, when you do the exam, it's a proctored exam, so you will be monitored, so we can see that you're alone and do this without any books or whatever is available. So please contact us if this is interesting. I will now go back to the research project we just have been involved in, because we have, as I showed you, been involved in research, paid research by the European Union and some other institutions in Europe since 2006. And actually, this is, we have had so far more than 20 TIEMS members being involved in these projects. At the moment, I think there are 14, 15 involved in these 3 projects we are running at the moment. Impetus, which I have presented earlier and which was actually dedicated to one webinar in October last year. Let me then go into these 2 projects, which are both wildfire projects. Wildfire is a big thing in Europe, and the European Commission has focused on trying to make this better. And I take this FIRES project first. FIRES stands for Innovative Technologies and Socio-Ecological Economic Solution for Fire Resilient Territories in Europe. Quite a difficult explanation, but I will tell you a little bit what it means. And you see the link below the title that goes to the EU Commission's CORDIS database, where you can find some more on the project. And it started 1st of December and will have an end in 25. So it's a 4-year project, and it's funded by the Commission. It has an overall budget of 21.5 million euro, and the EU contribution is more than 19, almost 20 million out of this 21. And it's coordinated by Consortia Centre de Ciencia in Tecnologia Forestal in Catalonia in Spain. We are many partners. There are 35, maybe there are 34. I think there is one that has left the consortium, not fully sure of that. But as you see, we are 14 research and innovation centers, 3 international networks, 8 technological enterprises, 1 industry, 6 emergency response bodies, and 2 regional governments, and 1 association forestry owners. And we are one of these partners. So we are together with very many other partners. And actually one of the partners is in Chile, which has actually a living lab. I will come back to that. So what is the objective and the approach of the project? The strategic objective of FIRES is to provide the EU with the capacity to avoid collapsing in front of an extreme wildfire event, projected to increase under a harsher climate. Integrating fire management and landscape management will be influential to address concern with extreme wildfire event and define the needed resistant and resilient landscapes. An integrated management approach to the fire management cycle phases, prevention, preparedness, detection, response, restoration, and adaptation is followed by developing innovation actions, integrated environmental, climate, health, safety, security, culture, and socio-economic aspects. It's deployed and demonstrated in living labs across Europe and beyond. This is a picture of everybody involved. There are sensors, there a living lab means that the solutions that we are developing and coming forward with in the project will be tested out in different landscapes in actually 11 what we call living labs. So you can test these in the living labs. And we are looking at 10 innovations actions. This is a picture of, well, there are 9 work packages where we actually TIEMS, we are responsible for work package 4, which is proactive governance, the engaged communities and EU cultural risk. So part of what we will look into is risk governance and also communication in emergencies. That are the innovations actions we will be responsible for pursuing. And you see there are 10 innovations actions beyond the above listed work packages. And these are then tested out in the coordination of the living labs are done in work package 8. So this is a picture of how everything goes together. It's a very ambitious project, very large, many partners. But we had the kickoff actually mid of January, and it was led professionally by consortium manager. And the living labs is shown on this map. There is one living lab in Norway, Sweden. It is an area picked out in Norway and Sweden, which will test out the solution. One in the Netherlands, one in Germany, one in France, one in Portugal, one in Galicia, and one in Catalonia, one in Sardinia, one in Greek, and one in Bulgaria, and also in Canary Islands, and one in Chile. So that was the idea of FIRES. It will last for 4 years, so I have invited them also. So during this year, we hopefully will have them to present in the webinar some of the results coming up. The other project is called FIRELOG, and here is the link again. This is also funded by the European Commission. This is the topic, preventing and fighting extreme wildfire with the integration and demonstration of innovative means, was the call for proposals from the Commission. It's also 4 years, started in November and runs until October 24. It is a little bit less than the FIRES, 3.2 million euro, and it's what it defined as a coordination and support action. Here again, fewer participants. We are involved here we are 15 altogether, and the consortium leader is Fraunhofer in Germany. And as you see, we have UK, we have Ireland, we have Germany, Spain, Italy, Greece, and Spain and Portugal. Yeah, and the scope of the innovation actions are actions funded under this call will speed up the pan-European adaptation process to extreme wildfires by advancing and applying research and innovation, including demonstration pilot sites, the living labs, while making best use of existing data, remote sensing, in situ or community-based data, technologies, big data, artificial intelligence, and services like Copernicus, Galileo, and EGNOS. And it looks into prevention and preparedness, detection and response, and restoration and adaptation. What we will do here in FIRELOG, we will use results from FIRES and 4 other EU projects. One is Fire EU Risk, and Sylvanus, and the last one I don't remember. So we will take those ideas, we will try to look at these and exchange them and networking with them through webinars, sharing standard operating procedure, research integration, brokering and training and exercises option, networking events, and joint impact assessments. And the communication and dissemination of the project will be through joint publications, white paper and roadmaps, technology marketplace, and a joint knowledge base, review of past wildfire events, look into that, mapping of actors, measures, and technologies involved in wildfires protection, and translation for use in working groups. I would like to mention that the European Green Deal, which is actually on focus in the project, aims to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. Climate change and environmental degradation are an existential threat to Europe and the world. To overcome these challenges, the European Green Deal will transform the EU into a modern, resource-efficient and competitive economy and ensuring no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050, economic growth decoupled from resource use, and no person and no place left behind. There is something called just transition, which became a concept of a core concept of the Green Deal. And they have come up with different measures, financing a fund, investment scheme, and a new public sector loan facility in order to make this possible. And the term just transition was first coined by the trade union movement in the 1980s. Its original concept focused explicitly on job restoration from the replacement of coal mining jobs with those situated in the low carbon economy. So those experiences made back in the 1980s will now also be used in this project in order to reach the New Deal, the Green Deal. What will be TIEMS involvement in Dialogue? We have 5 working groups, as you see here, and these working groups will look into what we call 4 thematic strands. One is socio-economic aspects, climate change mitigation and adaptation, technology, and Earth observation. So we will look at, and our responsibility will be Civil Protection Working Group, where we will look at the different results coming out of the 4 big projects I mentioned, where FireRest was one, and also the results of Dialogue. So our work will be to produce out of this results for the European Union. That was a quick look into those 2 projects we have been just been involved in, and more proposal here. I will finalize by telling what is TIEMS' future plans. And as you can see, we will like to do more conferences and workshops. I told you about that, more webinars. But hopefully we will also, that you are triggered by all the presentations today, to look into, would you like to do a chapter in your country or region? And we will also like TIEMS chapters be more involved in research and development activities. And we will then try to locate more funds and sources worldwide for such activities. I can mention that we have actually participated in bids to CDRI in India. So with a lot of partners around the world, that has not been decided yet. So that might also come up as a project soon. We like more TIEMS members. We like more international education partners, because we are not thinking about developing all courses ourselves, because there is a lot of courses developed out by different institutions and universities around the world. So we like to cooperate with you and use those things and involve them in our certification programs. We also recruit cooperation partners for further development and national adoption and application of TIEMS International Certifications, and run training courses in emergency management, disaster response, and other activities which come along with how things develop in the world. I stop there. I think we used the hour. If there are any questions, we will be glad to answer them. I will stop sharing. And I'm sure that our 4 TQC charter members are here also to answer any questions. Thank you. Kyle, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Harold. Very informative, very interesting presentation about all the work that TIEMS is working on. And so, are there any questions to the audience now? If anybody has any questions, you can certainly use the Q&A feature. I do have one question while we're waiting for anybody in the audience, which is, from those of you who've taken the certification, how long did it take you to sort of, from start to finish, to get your TQC? And Russell, you're on my top right, so we'll just start with you. Russell, how long did did it work with you?
I would suggest how long it took me is probably not going to be representative of what's happening for everyone else. We went through as charter members, and every time we did something, we were writing comments to streamline it. So I don't know what the time would be to do it start to finish from scratch now, because of all the different steps we did. I think all of us actually provided comments on how to make it as simple as possible. But all I would say is, as I said in my presentation, it is complicated, it is detailed, but it is actually worthwhile to get the rigor that's required for a certification process. I'll leave it at that, I think.
Okay, great. Yeah, that does make a difference if you're initially sort of going through the process and sort of working out the kinks and working through the system. But so Harold, what is the sort of average that you're seeing, I guess, overall? Maybe that's a better way to phrase the question in terms of the expectation and time requirements is probably the best way to say that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question because as Russell said, I think we got going around mid 2020 and Russell finished in 6 months time. About that was it. But during that process, he gave us so much valuable feedback that we changed things in the system and the way. But we have put up a timeline how we do it. We have an application and we promise to answer on the application within 7 days. We have 4 boards which do evaluation. We have a certification board, look at the application, and we promise to give a feedback if we think the candidate can go through, that he has enough experience and education to go through the process. 7 days we've given ourselves to do that evaluation. When we say positive, we open the platform, we give him a password to get into the platform and ask the candidate to start uploading diplomas, CV, all the experience he has. And also one thing is important is what we called competence area summary, which is 7 areas where the candidates, the TQC candidates, have to demonstrate that they have competence in all the 7 areas from the prevention through all the cycles of emergency management. And for the TQAC candidates, we ask them to pick 3 of them and demonstrate that. And when we have then the TQC certification board, the compliance board, which look at the candidates' papers uploaded and say this candidate is ready for examination. When the candidate is ready for examination, the TQC and TQAC examination board takes over, and we set up, first of all, we have to let the candidate get experience with what is the examination about. So he gets some test questions which he can test online the platform, and also he has to identify himself on the proctoring. So go through a identification phase where he then learn how to put this on. And he, in the examination, we have picked out from 4 areas because emergency management is absolutely everything. So we thought, what should we examine the candidate in? So we selected 4 areas where we have references to where the candidate can find background on this. First is international cooperation. The second is the Sendai framework. The third is ISO. And the fourth is INSARAG. So with these references, we give the candidate time to study this, and then he can run into the examination. And he gets 50 questions, which are multiple source questions, and he gets 10 what we call essay questions, where he will answer by describing his view on that type of topic he's given. And then the examination, he has then 75 minutes for each of these 4 examinations. and he will be proctor. He can stop, he can rest, and he can log on again for the next examination. You have to do all 4 examinations in one day. And then the examination board will value, and if he passes, he will then be getting his certification. We have given a year totally to go through this, meaning we give the candidates 6 months to upload everything. We know people might be busy, they are doing their jobs, so we give them time to upload to the platform. When the candidate comes to the examination, we give him 3 months to do the first run through. If he should fail, he has to score in average 67% on all questions. If he fails, he gets another 3 months to redo this. So altogether, he is given 12 months. But I can say when we did the test candidates, they used about 6 months each with a lot of feedback to us. But the Chinese Lili, he actually, then the system was very well developed, and it took him about 2-3 months to go through. So it's up to the candidate. I hope I answered this. It was a long answer, but I hope I answered your question.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Harold. Yeah, it's a great overview. Larry, over to you.
I'd like to add that we are looking, the examination board is looking to expand the 4 areas to all 7 areas or the criteria. We need to develop what it is we want to test and the development of the questions. It's going to take some time, but we want to expand the breadth of the depth of knowledge we're seeking for the international certification.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Anybody else? Any comments on that from the panel? No? Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that this is actually an extremely challenging opportunity for people to really strengthen their own skill sets in the field of emergency management, because COVID has shown in the last 2 years that we need more and more people who are certified, who are trained, who are qualified. And so this international certification becomes really important. And so we would encourage more and more people to go through the certification, especially people who are in the field of teaching in the universities, emergency management, disaster management, emergency preparedness, response, mitigation, disaster risk reduction, resilience building, all kinds of areas, multidisciplinary professionals who are teaching, whether it is in social work, psychology, sociology, architecture, engineering, law, international humanitarian law, many subjects which are actually require professional competences to be built. So I would encourage more and more people to join in, and we would be very happy to extend all our support. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinod. Okay, great. Well, we're over an hour now, so I think that was a pretty good length for a start and a kickoff to 2022. If you have any questions or you want some more information about the certification program or anything else, you can head over to the TIEMS website at tiems.info, TIEMS.info. And of course, the link is in the chat already in terms of the TQC and the overview there, so you can find that if you're interested. Otherwise, thank you everybody for attending, and thanks again for being part of the 2022 session as we start off this year in our webinar series, and look forward to seeing everybody in our next session. Thank you everybody. Have a great day, great evening. Thanks.